Hello! Welcome to our Introduction to CEDH learning series. The goal of this course is to teach the basics and fundamentals of CEDH or Competitive Commander. This course is for anyone who wants to dive into the competitive part of the Commander format but don't know exactly where to start. This course does assume you have an understanding of the EDH or Commander format as well as an overall understanding of Magic the Gathering as a whole. So what is CEDH exactly? CEDH is the abbreviation of Competitive EDH, also known as Competitive Commander. Is Competitive EDH its own format, like Duel Commander, Oathbreaker, or Brawl? No. It's simply a nickname for what we like to call the top end of the EDH/Commander format. So why the name? Simply put, in order to ensure the maximum power levels are understood when you sit down at a table to play a game, we put a label onto what type of decks we are bringing, as well as what type of play styles we are expecting. The approach that competitive EDH takes when it comes to deck building and playstyle doesn't always match up with the other power levels in the rest of the format. We don't want any hurt feelings or bad times to be had from someone who is unaware of the intentions of a CEDH table. So, in order to better understand CEDH, let's take a look at some similarities and some differences. First, it's important to understand that CEDH is EDH at its core. We play with the same rules, same ban list, and same restrictions. All CEDH decks are 100 cards, no sideboards, with a commander or commanders sitting in the command zone at the start of the game. We start with 4 players at a total of 40 life. The goal is to win the game and have a good time while doing so. The differences mainly lie in deck building and playstyle as mentioned earlier. When you sit down at a CEDH table, the main goal is to win, above everything else. While many EDH decks are built to do a thing, such as mill everyone, create tokens, or play politics, CEDH have one singular goal in mind: win the game. CEDH decks are built with this singular goal in mind, and when you sit down at a CEDH table, your deck is built to execute this plan, as well as disrupt others from executing theirs. What about playstyle? EDH tables have players sit down, play a game, and have fun. CEDH tables desire the exact same thing. The difference is when you sit down at a CEDH table, you are expected to play to the best of your ability and have an understanding that winning is part of the fun. Where CEDH differs is its understanding of the rules of Commander. Commander as a format is known as a social format. CEDH is no different. The difference lies in how it applies the rules of Commander to the table. While EDH obeys the spirit of the law, CEDH obeys the letter of the law. You may have noticed this when sitting down for a casual game of EDH. It's commonly frowned upon to play things like mass land destruction, heavy stacks, or a lot of discard at a regular EDH table. Basically, anything that prevents a player from playing Magic is frowned upon in EDH. While things like Armageddon and Winter Orb are not banned in EDH, it's understood that those cards are best left out of your deck. CEDH does not have this restriction. We obey the ban list to the letter of the law, meaning if it's not on the list, it's fair game to use in our decks. CEDH also differs in approach to playstyle. All actions in the game are taken to the best of your ability at a CEDH table. Things like takebacks and poor threat assessment don't really have a place at a CEDH table. You don't see things like rolling dice to see who you're going to attack to keep it fair, or I'm killing your commander only because you killed my commander at a CEDH table. Now, at first glance, all of this might sound too serious or not fun. But trust us when we say that this is not the case. When you remove those types of behaviors from a game of EDH, something wonderful actually comes out of it. In CEDH, there are no spite plays, hurt feelings, or otherwise salty attitudes as a result of your plays. Everyone sitting down understands that the plays are not personal. Before we go any further, I want to dispel a couple of quick myths about CEDH. First, it is a common myth that CEDH is for nothing but a bunch of pub stompers, tryhards, and people who don't like to have fun. This could not be any further from the truth. Just as someone playing chess is still seeking to have a good game, CEDH players are looking to enjoy themselves through tight gameplay and well-executed game plans. We still laugh, shake hands, and shuffle up for another after the game ends. That also piggybacks on another myth, that CEDH players are actively trying to ruin the fun of casual EDH tables. Unfortunately, a lot of people's first exposure to CEDH is in this way. A player will bring a CEDH deck they found online to a casual table intentionally to overpower and otherwise win repeatedly without the other decks being prepared. Please let it be known that this is not what CEDH players do, and no one calling themselves a CEDH player would ever condone this type of behavior. CEDH decks are built to be played exclusively against other CEDH decks. One last misnomer that I want to touch on is that CEDH players are wanting to change the format of EDH as a whole and to have people only play the way that they want to play. This is false. CEDH players are EDH players at heart. Most of them started with casual EDH and gradually grew into CEDH. Many CEDH players still actively play regular EDH. This myth grew from the infamous Flash ban that happened in April of 2020. The Rules Committee heard the voices of the CEDH community and banned a problem card in their part of the format, called Flash. While the CEDH community loved the decision, a lot of regular EDH players didn't like that the ban was made for such a small portion of the community at large. This led to a degree of fear-mongering about the tail wagging the dog in regards to who controls the direction of the format. CEDH players do not wish for the format to change to their way of playing. They love CEDH and EDH as well. Since we play the same format, we want things to remain the way they are. Sure, everyone has ideas about rules changes and bans, but the CEDH community doesn't want any sort of fundamental changes to this format. We like it the way it is. So, what are some of the pros of playing CEDH? First off, CEDH allows you to play some otherwise unexplored strategies that might not have a home at a regular EDH table. Want to try out stacks, mass land destruction, or a quick combo? Those are absolutely welcome at a CEDH table. Another pro of CEDH is the ability to play cards that might be frowned upon at regular EDH tables. We are not only talking about things like Armageddon, we are talking about things like Force of Will, extra turn cards like Time Warp, or expensive cards like Time Twister. Some of these cards carry a bit of stigma behind them, and CEDH is a place to be able to play with these super powerful cards. This further includes cards that would otherwise be seen as suboptimal in regular EDH decks. Want to play with Dark Confidant because you used to play Modern? That doesn't really seem good in a regular EDH deck, but the average CMC of a CEDH deck makes it a great inclusion. Another pro of CEDH is the freedom to explore cards, commanders, or styles to their fullest potential. Want to see just how powerful you can make your favorite commander? You might end up tuning your deck right out of being playable at a regular EDH table. But those types of things are accepted and encouraged at CEDH tables. We will be the first to admit that CEDH isn't everyone's cup of tea, nor should it be if it isn't the way you desire to have fun, and that's okay. But let's talk quickly about some of the downsides of CEDH to get a better understanding of this format as a whole. First, CEDH is expensive. Just as it's expected for you to play to your fullest ability, every card in your deck is expected to also behave the same way. As such, the most efficient cards are favored over less expensive, albeit worse cards for your deck. Now, the CEDH community is widely accepting of the use of proxies to lower this barrier. Many communities are 100% okay with you printing out Time Twister from a printer and playing with it. It is frequently stated that CEDH players want to battle their opponents, not their opponents' wallets. That being said, you may be in a position or in a community that doesn't allow proxies, and therefore will have to play around the budgetary restrictions that many decks contain. There are absolutely budget versions of popular CEDH decks available, but you should understand that these are making some suboptimal choices to meet their budgets. Next, there are some strategies and commanders that can't keep their footing in a CEDH environment. We know that people have pet cards that hold special places in their heart or love to play a wacky off-the-wall playstyle, such as Group Hug or Chaos. These strategies and cards commonly find themselves at odds with the approach to CEDH. You'll find yourself frequently losing or having trouble gaining any traction at a table, which not only leads to an unfun experience for yourself, but others at the table will dislike how their abilities are stifled from otherwise disruptive behavior or suboptimal plays. Lastly, CEDH is complicated. When sitting down, you are expected to have a good understanding of priority, stack interaction, decks, and common win cons. Now, does that mean you have to be a level 4 judge just to play? Of course not. But it is understood that a level of competency and skill are present when you sit down. That can be very intimidating for newcomers. Unfortunately, there aren't really many shortcuts in this avenue. Yes, you can bring a deck that's super simple to pilot, but you're also still expected to understand how the other decks at the table are going to operate. This is unfortunately a very chicken and egg situation, because unless you play, how will you know? Well, the upcoming videos in this series should be able to help you get past those barriers and sit you down at your first CEDH table. Stay tuned for the next videos where we dive into common CEDH cards, CEDH decks, and what to expect when sitting down at a CEDH table. What are your thoughts about CEDH? Do you have any follow-up questions? Please ask us in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.